Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of FENG, FENG, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the first CFO Leadership Roundtable to be held in the forum as face-to-face event in Chennai. I'm very happy to have you all here. And we are delighted that we are able to bring you together in this forum to exchange ideas, to learn from each other's thoughts, and add value to ourselves and to the forum. Mainly, but not the least, to gain networking. Because end of the day, it is networking that helps and strengthens us more than anything. And as we are a network of friends and network of friendship, so the emphasis here is on networking. I'm glad to have all of you here on a Saturday afternoon in your busy schedule, able to spare time to listen to our 6 panelists, actually. First, we have a great speaker, TEDx speaker, Mr. Kribakaran, addressing us on the topic of pursuit of happiness, which is what we are trying to do with our vocation, with our personal lives, balance of life, everything. So I'm looking forward to that exchange of conversation from his side. And then followed by 2 panel discussions with on very diverse topics, I should say. They are more contextual and relevant and not based on metrics, but which as CFOs you would be or would have faced in your corporate work experience. So the questions, I think, has already been circulated in the mail. So I'm not repeating those questions for you today. And I thank Mukherjee to have seeded this thought of organizing a face-to-face meeting, which really prompted me and enthused me with energy to go ahead with this program. So I look forward to having an enjoyable evening or afternoon with all of you. So welcome to FENG India CFO Leadership Roundtable. And let the proceedings begin. Thank you. I would like to introduce first our agenda is the introduction of our speaker, first speaker for the day, Mr. Kribakaran. I have just a minute. Sit down, thank you. So I got actually a small brief from him because when I went through the website that details his activities, they were too much for me. And I'm usually good at making something concise for presentation, but I was flabbergasted with the kind of range of activities he is engaged with. So I requested him, and thankfully he shared his own brief profile, which I'm reading out to you. It's my privilege to introduce our speaker today, Professor Kiruba Shankar. Kiruba Shankar wears many hats. He is an entrepreneur, professor of digital marketing, an author of 9 books, only 9 books. Yeah, and a podcaster, a professional speaker, and an organic farmer. Oh, some of us may have a few of these rubbed off into us, but not all of them, I suppose. It's exceptional, Kiruba. Over the years, he has delivered more than 900 talks across 24 countries, taught at leading business schools, and advised some of India's most respected organizations on digital strategy. But beyond these accomplishments lies something far more meaningful. Kiruba believes that the true success is not measured by titles or achievements, but by waking up every day excited about the work you do, finding joy in continuous learning, and using our knowledge to make a positive difference in the lives of others. Whether he is speaking to audiences around the world, teaching students, or writing books, which is a pretty longish effort. Lakshman, I remember that you are done, and you are also an author. Interviewing inspiring people or spending weekends nurturing his organic form. Perhaps that's where he gets his inspiration. He is driven by a deep sense of purpose and fulfillment. Today, he brings those life experiences together to explore a question that matters to every one of us, regardless of profession or stage in life. What does it truly mean to pursue happiness? Please join me in welcoming Professor Kiruba Shankar, Founder Director of Speakers Association of India. Over to you, Kiruba.
These extra chairs. Yeah. So one of the lessons that we learn in a professional speaker is always make the room feel full. And a clear strategy is to just move every chairs. That works. Yeah. 2 months ago, a bunch of 10 college friends embarked on a motorcycle expedition to the Himalayas. It was a 10-day trip, and people flew in from different countries. It was like a reunion of sorts. While the biking expedition was awesome, what stays with me till now is an aha moment that I'll never forget. And this is on an evening of fellowship when you're 3 drinks down. One conversation led to another, and that spoke about life expectancy. And one of the guys said, hey, do you know what the life expectancy of an Indian male is? Clearly, we didn't know the answer. So we went to Mr. ChatGPT and asked, and ChatGPT said 71 years. Most of us had just crossed 50. I'm 52. So the obvious thing cropped up. 71 minus 52. And I realized I only had 6,900 days to technically live. And I think all that spirit, the high from those 3 rounds of drinks immediately vanished. Because reality stuck that, we are all pursuing, truly living our life. And that came in, that really shook us up. It definitely shook me up. Saying that, all right, so what are we doing living somebody else's life? Now, these days truly numbered, and how can we make the most of it? It made so much sense to me that one of the guys that I have the deepest respect for is a guy called Derek Sivers. I don't think any of you would have heard of him. But I would urge you to take note of this name. It will be deeply impactful as it did for me, and I'm sure it will be for you. I'll tell you a quick background of Derek Sivers, and then I'll go on to probably the most impactful lesson that I learned from this gentleman. He's an amazing guy. So Derek was a musician, a guitarist and a songwriter. He put together a band, and they recorded albums. And back in those days, I'm talking about 20 years back, you're at the mercy of music label companies, because they are the ones who can sign you up and they are the ones who control distribution. This is pre-internet days. So he knocked on multiple music label companies, and because he was a nobody, nobody knows him, everyone at the door of his face. So what he did was, he said, all right, now I have to take matters into my own hands. He walks into Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble is a bookstore, physical bookstore, it used to exist. He goes and buys a book called How to Build Your Website in 1 Week. He's not a technology guy at all. He reads through the book, and he takes about a month to build simple website called cdbaby.com, and he starts to put his music, single songs, and you can pay per song. So you don't have to buy the album. If you like a song, you just pay $1 and you download the album. And interestingly, this became a very nice via media circumventing your music label companies. And some of his music friends approached him and said, hey, Macha, that looks like a great idea. Will you also help me? I'm also struggling. So this became a small business model where he encouraged others to come in. Long story short, in 3.5 years, Amazon buys his company, cdbaby.com, for $21 million. But the interesting thing happened right after that. He gets the money, keeps $1 million for himself, and donates $20 million to charity. And then he decides that with the $1 million, he will not buy a car, he will not buy a house. He will only do things that he has always wanted to do. You know, when you're a professional or you're an entrepreneur, much of your life only goes behind meeting numbers, satisfying clients. But now that he has enough money that he doesn't have to work for, so he started to live his life, travel around, serve in NGOs. And then he compiled all his life lessons into a 52-page book called Anything You Want. That's the title of the book. And then he has 52 lessons that he has learned as an entrepreneur. It's a book that you can finish while you're waiting for your flight. When you're sitting in a thing, it's such an easy to read book. And amongst the 52 lessons, the one that really stuck very deeply in my heart, that has changed the trajectory of my life and will continue to do till my end, is a lesson called Hell Yeah or No. Right? So hell yeah is like the Americanized version of oh yes. And he says, there's so many opportunities that comes to our life. Opportunities to invest, opportunities to work, opportunities to go out for a drink with your friends, opportunity to come and give a talk for CFOs. And the only question you have to ask is this a hell yeah moment, or is this a no? So even if you're half disinterested in the opportunity, Derek challenges you to say no. So any opportunity in life, when you're only half interested or half satisfied, your heart is not fully invested in it, and it dares you to say no, even though FOMO will kick in, the fear of missing out. And he says when you start saying no, 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 no to a lot of things, your life will only have space towards the hell yeah moments, the OS moments. And that's when you truly love. I used to be a professional. I used to be a senior director in a company. Prior to that, a vice president of a company. And this particular moment completely changed my life. And that's when I went on. I quit my corporate life. I took on a life of entrepreneurship. I think one of the second best decision I took in my life. The first one is marrying my wife. You have to score brownie points, no? Important. It's recorded. Yeah. But Derek, it's just a fabulous point, and there's so many other points I would urge you to do it. Some of us are entrepreneurs here, so that's one thing that has that's deeply benefited a lot, which is be selective about the passions that you pursue, and put your heart and soul behind it. You know, yesterday at the post-match conference, Novak Djokovic got mothered by Yannick 6-4, 6-4. And people asked him, why? You're 39 years old, you're an old man. Why do you do this? And he says, I have enough money, I'm not doing this for money. I have enough titles, I have 24 Grand Slam titles, right? I'm here playing not to satisfy the press, not to satisfy the audience, the crowd, my family, my kids. I'm doing it because I love challenging myself. And when you look at some of the world's greatest sportsmen, even look at, I mean, as much as I hate a guy like Donald Trump, from the bottom of my heart, I would still say that what is it at that kind of an age would motivate a person to go ahead? It's clearly not money, it's probably power. But there has to be some very internal, inherent push that we need to do. And the sooner we find that ikigai within us, what really matters, I think, is the time that we will truly shine. That was like a brilliant lesson that I learned. I picked up 5 life lessons that I wanted to share. You know, Srini mentioned that, you know, I run a 14-acre organic permaculture farm. And one of the things that we also do in the farm is, it's a retreat center. It's a place. So the farm is called Vaksana. Vaksana is a word that means a lactating mother that gives nourishment to her baby. And I fell in love with the meaning of that word. And I wanted the farm to be a nourishment of humans, nourishment of mind, and nourishment of nature and animals. So we double up our space, our Vaksana farms, into a retreat center, and we host a lot of workshops, residential workshops. One of the workshops that is truly meaningful to me is a workshop called Bucket List Boot Camp. And the Bucket List Boot Camp is, you know what a bucket list is, right? The things that you want to do before you die. And it's a 2-day off-grid, no phones, kind of a very deep dive session. And when we do these at the workshop and we ask people to list down the things that what are the things that you want to do before you die, right? And this is an exercise I would challenge you to do as well. And if I ask you to take pen and paper and just write down what are the things that really matters to you, you'd be amazed that only a small fraction of what you write on the piece of paper has to do with your professional life. I've done multiple sessions of these workshops. So it's very interesting how the ones that are truly meaningful to you is a lot of it has to do with your family, a lot of it has to do with your personal pursuits. Of course, money, without an iota of doubt, but almost always at the bottom of that list, it's definitely on the list, is your titles and your promotion and your adulation of your fellow employees. Right? It's amazing how the pattern continues, no matter what profile of people, could be from CFOs to CXOs to middle management to students. I've seen this pattern time and again. And if it's a pattern that repeats time and time again, it can't be an aberration. It has to be the norm. So this is something that I would encourage you to deeply do, which is we've just crossed half year of 2026. And I want you to sit with your wife, your kids, your parents maybe, and have a very friendly discussion on what is their bucket list. Many times we focus on what our bucket list is, but the most astonishing aspect that I found is our happiness comes from making our kids' dream come true, making our parents' dream come true, making our wife's dream come true. And I'm speaking with you, I'm getting goosebumps as I tell you this. It's just remarkable. You know, 4.5 years ago, my grandma, maternal grandma, my mom's mom, Lakshmi Pati, she was 88 years then. And I was just having this kind of a conversation, and I asked her, so Pati, உங்களுக்கு உங்க வாழ்க்கையில என்ன வந்துச்சுன்னா உங்களுக்கு மனசு ரொம்ப நிறைவா இருக்கும்? What will bring you that wholehearted satisfaction in your heart? And if you can let me know. And as a grandson, I really wanted to make her happy. She's gone through a very tough life. She's given her, like a candle, burnt herself to make others live. So I genuinely was interested in that question. And you know what she said? she said, சொந்தமா ஒரு தொழில் பண்ணணும்னு ஆசைப்பட்டேன். I want to do a business of my own. She studied only till 3rd standard. Her husband passed away when she was very young. 2 of her sons met with an accident and passed away, and the only surviving kid is my mom. So you can imagine the kind of difficulty she would have gone through. What is an uneducated, no business knowledge, born in a very, very paternal family in a village that is so male dominated? What can a lady at 88 years do business? That was just about the second half of our COVID wave. And I noticed she was really good at 2 things. She's an amazing cook, like an outstandingly awesome cook, like lip-smacking cuisine. And the second one is that kind of an unfiltered, unadulterated love and affection that can only come from the grandmothers of the world. Right? It's that genuine, heartfelt kindness. And I felt these 2 are the 2 most powerful ingredients in hospitality. I run a company that has been servicing Club Mahindra and Sterling Holidays for nearly 2 decades. I run a digital consulting firm. So I have some deep insight into what hospitality is. And I felt this is something that money can't buy. So we constructed a farmhouse for people to come and stay. Srini has come and stayed in the house. And it's a very simple house with lots of glasses in the middle of a 40-acre farm. Very peaceful and quiet. And purely because of the love and affection she would show to the guests. Long story short, in 2025, the Department of Tourism and Department of Women Welfare Government of India, they nominated party for Padma Shri Award. And second one, Outlook Traveler magazine rated our farm as India's best farm stay for 2025. I can tell you, thank you. I can tell you, I can easily name 100 farms that are better than our farm. Much bigger than our farm, much more greener than our farm, much more luxurious than our farmhouse. But the thing that caught people's attention was not the physical infrastructure. It was what, then 88 years, he passed away not too long ago at 92. But I can tell you that she aged backwards, right? She really aged backwards because now she had a purpose in life. She had meaning. She would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And that is something that was amazing, right? And that motivated me to go author a book called Unkick the Bucket. Kick the bucket is to die, but unkick the bucket is not just live, but live ceremoniously, like joyfully, like thoroughly, like you feel every fiber of your life and you live. And I felt that was deeply meaningful, right? So that is something that I truly wanted to share. That sometimes age is just a number. Such ironical statement to say when I said somebody is the age, I'll kick the bucket. But what I felt is immaterial of what we do, right? Immaterial of what stage in our life, and how old we are, and what position we are in. I think that the question that we always have to pursue is, what is it that we are, what will give us genuine happiness? Is a question that I think we need to ask ourselves, and more importantly, encourage our kids and our wife to ask. So that's something that I would definitely encourage you to do. The next part I wanted to also share with you, which is a brilliant lesson, and the topic of our discussion is a pursuit of happiness. So right now, I'm constructing our 5th farmhouse at our farm. And this farmhouse is very different, and the house has no walls, 0 walls, the entire house. And the entire house is made up entirely of windows. These are salvaged windows, some of them from centuries old mansions from Chettinad, from French mansions from Pondicherry. Over the last 1.5 years, I would go and handpick windows like a crow builds its nest. And in that process, and in about 1 month from now, we will finish the construction. And I went through an amazing, and right now we are at about 60% completion, but even now I can get the feeling that the finishing of the house is not giving me as much satisfaction than in my pursuit of finding the most amazing windows. We went and picked up large arched windows from the Madras High Court that was demolished many years ago. We were able to pick that up. From a 160-year-old French mansion that was demolished to build an ugly rice building, we were able to handpick that. I realized that the joy that I derived from hunting these windows is not matching up to the completion of the window, of the house. You would think that's where happiness comes, right? You finish it, you can open this up to the general public, and they can come and you can start earning money. Strangely, I'm not getting that kick as much. So that's another powerful lesson I've learned, that the journey is really the reward. The destination is just an incident, an eventuality. And that was like beautiful. Right? And if we can just mimic that to almost every project that we're doing, I think it changes our mindset, it changes our perspective. I thought this was brilliant. So these are some of the key things that I really wanted to pick this up and share with all of us. And I felt that, we're all living extremely stressful professions, being a CFO, being a senior person in finance, being a consultant for other companies. A lot of responsibility on our shoulders. A lot of people put their trust, they confide in us. And it's a very responsible, high job that we're doing. So while we are doing justice to our professional life, which we should, but which also makes sure that we have a balance in life, and that balance in life from pursuing our individual pursuits, and second is our interests of our kids and our close family. This is what I wanted to share. Thank you so much. Really great.
Thank you.
Maybe words, I think for this group, saying no is not very tough, because finance professionals always say no for everything first.
We start with the no. That was fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Kiruba. Thank you. Awesome. So, I think part of our meeting is primarily networking. So, most of us, I don't know, I would like you to have a self-introduction. Probably you can use this mic to introduce yourselves, not only for this audience, for those who are. Oh, okay, right. Okay, please pass it on. Yeah.
Good evening.
So this microphone is not for the PA system, it's actually for the recording or camera.
I'm sorry.
Sure. Okay. Good evening, everyone. This is Balaji. So I run a firm called Finance Consulting. I'm a partner there. So we do management
Louder.
So we do management consulting and CFO services as part of our offering. The boutique firm that we have started in year 2020.
On that side.
It's a boutique firm we started in year 2020. So it's kind of we bring on the industry experience to the table as consultants. That's what our USP is. And glad to meet all of you here. Thank you.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Balaji. And it's a pleasure being here, everybody. Thank you, Arun, for getting us all together in one room. Wonderful being here. My name is Sundar. Like Balaji was saying, I'm part of FENG Consulting, CFO services and a transformation workshop. Our primary role is to ensure that the finance teams and the companies get better results than they're currently getting. So, and to do that in the most practical fashion, to do that in the right way, without compromising on their requirements is what we typically bring to the table. So, again, wonderful meeting every one of you, very accomplished names, very accomplished people. So glad to be here.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you Arun, for the session. I'm Sheikh Abdul Khader, CEO of Data Labs India. So what we do is we want to help manufacturing and supply chain organizations to achieve excellence in their manufacturing and supply chain operations through our products and our services and our expertise. So the reason I wanted to pursue this from 2019 onwards about the products is to solve the complex problems. You need to achieve excellence in manufacturing and supply chain operations. Without that, India as a country cannot compete with any global countries like China. Okay, so you need to really achieve excellence. It's not the lip service. Okay, to do that, the mid-size organizations have a lot of difficulties because they have the same challenges as a lot of larger organizations, but they cannot afford for the same level of products and services. We want to help them to achieve excellence with the limited resources, investments. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Lakshmanan. Arun and I did our CA articles together. Like many of you, I'm a chartered accountant. Spent 30 odd years in corporate life. And like Kripa, you mentioned, during COVID, I realized I didn't need the money I thought I needed because there was no avenues to spend. And I don't say passion, but my interest was, managing portfolios. So I decided to check my job and then got into portfolio management. The difficulty with portfolio management is that you have all your customers constantly asking you, why did the market go down? How did I lose money? So I chose not to do this for anybody else, but for myself. And, COVID onwards, the next 3 years was amazing. So no regrets about it. The past couple of years have been bad, but I think overall life is a mixed bag. And like Kripa said, it gave me an opportunity to do many things which I would not have otherwise done if I had continued with employment and retained the monthly paycheck. So glad that I could get away from all of that. And nice to be here. Thanks, Arun, for inviting me, FENG, and nice to meet all of you.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Raja Mukherjee. I am the founder and CEO of Rodimi Consulting. Rodimi comes from a Sanskrit word, Arohan's Ro, and Dhemi is an abbreviation of Dhamma. So, essentially, I help clients improve their growth and profitability. That's what I do. Thank you.
My name is Anil Padmanabhan. I thought I could say something which is as exciting as all of you have said. Unfortunately, no. I have about 31 years of experience in various companies, including Accenture, Capgemini, and Conduent. Right now, I am the shared services for a Saudi-based company in Chennai. Apart from that, I think I don't have much to talk about myself. My specialization has been to service delivery, setting up engagement, transformation, etc. And I've been invited by Raja and Arun. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure meeting all of you.
Yeah, I think.
Good evening to you all, and I am Bhaskaran. And first of all, my thanks to Raja sir who had shared the invitation, and it's my pleasure to meet you all. Basically, I am an industrial engineer, and I am into ERP consulting. And then I had moved to CMA, customer management accountant, and my services is a blend of manufacturing, finance with digital transformation. So basically, I am 20 plus years into this field. And it's good, each and every wave of the IT is somehow or the other giving us an edge to learn and explore. And thanks to all for being over here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. I'm Kiran. I have around 30 years of experience, and I am a finance professional at the core with cross-functional experience, having worked in various, including program management, general operations, and various other activities. So that puts me in a sweet spot where I'm able to connect the dots across organization and see how things can be improved holistically. And last couple of years, I've been exploring AI from strategic perspective, taking this as a base. And I'm sure there are quite a few things as finance professionals we can make use of in terms of unstructured data, which I'll be talking about during panel discussion. Thank you.
Hi all, good afternoon. Myself Soumya. I'm a chartered accountant with more than 2 decades of experience being part of UC, Shell. Currently, I'm a CFO of a company called FENG India Private Limited. Nothing more exciting. Glad to be part of this.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Arindam Banerjee. I am a fellow cost accountant. So I cleared cost accountancy and then I pursued my PhD from NIT Durgapur. So my basic area of interest is behavioral finance and investment management. And I'm primarily into research and teaching and writing also. So that's the primary interest. Thank you.
Hi all, good afternoon. So myself Srihari. So I am a chartered accountant, CMA, and an alumni of IAM. So I'm here to build on my network, discuss about any strategic financial topics, and also understand about how we can balance our life. One thing is, I would like to spend time with Mr. Kiruba on that. Yeah, thank you. Looking forward for a more discussion.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mohan Raj. I work for a company by the name Wholesome, which is headquartered in Switzerland. Bringing about 23 years overall experience. Thank you, Raja, for inviting me. And I have one, let's say, known face. It's Anil Panaman. Fortunately, we all worked together in Capgemini about a decade back. I'm glad that, let's say, we still stay connected and we're able to kind of, let's say, be here together with this particular group. Raja and I started back in 2013 or 2014 in Capgemini, and we have always been in touch. So I'm based out of Mumbai. I'm not in Chennai, and I think this particular opportunity brought me back into Chennai. Although I've worked, let's say, for 3 years from 2013 until 2016 here. So I think the city has definitely kind of changed a lot. I'm here a very, very long period of time. Glad to be here and meet you guys and discuss. Also part of the panel. So I would like to kind of share my thoughts on that. Thank you.
Sorry, I'll have to turn my back to the audience, I guess. My name is Nanda. Been a professional for over 35 years, and I was primarily first with EY and then with R.R. Donnelley. I retired from there just a few days back. Started working as a fractional CFO for an engineering firm right now.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, honored to be in such a great setup. Thank you so much. I am Sneha. I'm part of Hive Places International. I've been here about over a decade now. I'm a partner in the firm, and I oversee the global CXO hiring, especially CFOs. So all of you guys are my sweet spot, perhaps. So thank you so much for having me here.
That is it, making everybody smile.
So anybody wants a job, they should reach out.
Yeah. Srini, I'm managing partner of this executive search company. something high place visitation. I had the privilege of placing Arun, one of my earliest billing that happened. And then after that, it was a boring for me. After that, I placed Vinny CFO. And then I felt, me and Arun actually attended one CFO forum in Bombay, and it was in Marriott. It's a fantastic forum, but I felt the finance executives were very cold. They were not actually networking, and and this is something. Then I felt that when Arun introduced me to FENG, the finance executive networking. Okay, I said this is an amazing place to bring people together, and bringing people together is something that I always enjoy. Both in USA, we do most of the, and Americans, trust me, I think they are the best in networking. It doesn't matter whether you are a finance guy or a marketing guy. Matt, the CEO of FANG, the way he actually interacted with us at 75 years. So I feel we are very good in everything except finance guys, networking from India. So I thought, why not we create FENG India a big way? That's the reason why I wanted to support. Immediately felt that we check together. But I see there's huge potential for FENG India, and we might also support FENG Middle East also. And this is a good forum, good beginning for FENG India from Chennai. We will do much more. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. Thank you. Yeah.
Myself. Okay. Okay. Last, yeah. Gentlemen, I'm Arun Kumar, and as my friend Lakshman told us, so I'm also a chartered accountant, as many of you are here in the audience. And I'm the co-chair of the Financial Executive Networking Group, which I joined somewhere in the midst of the global financial crisis. Things were going haywire all across the world. And there was a mailer, I don't know, there was a free mailer from the FENG. FENG in those days was not in India. So Matt's daily mail used to be the only thing of communication. And somehow I think I registered and they accepted me, even though I was not in the USA at that point in time, though I went later for personal reason. But I was very impressed with whatever was communicated. Very bold statements of helping you in that moment of crisis to improve your resolve, to meet whatever we are facing in our work life as well as personal life at that point in time. Probably it was a kind of the stuff that FENG is made of was brought out in those communications. So I was very impressed. And then later, I think about 4 years ago, I think I was approached to start. Then I said, am I a fit person at all? First, so initially I spruced. I didn't show much interest even before. Then second time, I think I was approached by Vineet, another co-chair. So then I decided, why not we do this? Because it's networking that I saw after so many decades, as Srini told. Networking is not what you call plate at all for any CFO, as even a 2% matter of their time, what they devote to all other aspects of corporate growth. But I believe that it is an essential element that fortitude and chance provides and guides you in that path. To making it available, you need that. So with that, I dipped my feet, and then here I am today. This is one more volunteering activity. I'm very proud and very happy to be with FENG. And then I'm very happy with the freedom to the extent that they don't interfere at all in the choice of how we make it happen. And then with thanks to Matt and thanks to Raja for seeding this idea, of having a face-to-face. So sorry, I'm diverting about beyond me. So I've been in corporate life, that is there in the LinkedIn. Most of us are connected now in the LinkedIn. I came out of corporate life and I'm in the fractional CFO services. So thing is, so I believe that we have great potential in India, given the number of professionals who are serving to add value to their themselves and to the corporate where they are working in. To the corporate they are working in, they wouldn't be in that job if they are not providing value. But we also always need to remember one very essential thing. The job is always between one job and another. So who will help you in times of crisis? Not when you become unemployed, but when you're in the job, you network. So we don't know. So everybody helps. So that is the essence of FENG. So they have, we have very good things going in for FENG. I would request you to introduce your colleagues and peer professionals. We have a quarterly journal. We have a archive for all our meetings. And then all our keynote speakers are all of top quality on topics very relevant. Like today we had Kiruba on a very touching topic, to opening up our thought process as to how to make your bucket list, someone else's bucket list as your bucket list, to derive. That's a path he has discovered and then he has shared with us. So we have such things in various facets of our personal as well as corporate life, which are being shared with all the members. So I look forward to have more such face-to-face meeting, as also to grow the India chapter into multiple geography chapters. Instead of one chapter, I would like to have 24 chapters all across India, as they have in the United States of America. So with that, apart from that, of course, yeah, I'm a Rotarian and I'm also a Freemasonry. So these are the other voluntary activities I am participating in. So thank you all. I would really appreciate for having allocated time to spend with us here today, leaving aside so many other important things. I really appreciate for having taken time and giving this importance to the activity, for being here on a face-to-face, in a face-to-face meeting. Thank you all. Thanks. The next will be the panel discussion on the I think next we have the panel discussion. Panel 1, we have 3 panelists. I think Kiran and Nanda, yeah, and Mr. Abdul, I think. Yeah, please join us. Yeah, I'll move to the side. Yeah, thanks. So we are, as you already know, we have 2 questions basically. So it will be addressed to each of you. Considering the time, we are close to 5. We got about 30 minutes. So I would request you to keep it to 2 minutes per question per person. And then I'll show this means you have 30 seconds left for you to learn. So I would like to start with Abdul. Are mid-market companies genuinely profitable, or are they just revenue proud? Or you can keep it. Would you like to have the sequence, or you would like to start with the first? I thought he's...
No, it's like, yeah.
Is it
Wanted to say something else?
Is it working now?
Yeah, it's working. You won't
It's
hear.
okay,
No,
okay,
it's on.
okay. Basically, the mid-market segment started revenue pride earlier, but recent years, they are not only revenue pride, okay, so they are profitability pride, okay. But the problem here is the pride for Indian mid-market comes from the cost cutting and also the efficiency part, not the innovation and the innovation and then the adding value kind of thing. It is not sustainable. Okay, but the overall profitability is growing. Okay, for sure, definitely, but we have to make it more sustainable. That's my take. Yeah.
Okay. As a founder yourself, what profitability blind spot did you have to correct in your own company?
Yeah, I have a major challenge as any other company. Okay, so the target company what we are looking is the mid-size companies, mid-size manufacturing and logistics. Their problems and larger company problems are same. Okay, but these people wants to solve their problems at the 1/10 of their cost. So because of that, we need to optimize in two ways. First of all, we have to reduce our costs, reduce our overheads, and also at the same time, we need to maintain the price, bring the stability and improve it as we go on. So striking the balance between these two is the challenge. If I don't do that, it will be an existential problem. So that's a big challenge.
Was it a discovery?
I learned it very in a hard way. Earlier, people will say, no, you invest this, you spend this, you get this, you do. So it's people don't really tell about real things. Okay, people talk about very nice things, you invested. But one thing what I have learned very seriously is each rupee you need to spend it very carefully. Otherwise, you will be out of business. If you are serving a mid-sized companies, you need to really very efficient in the cost. Otherwise, you are not survivable. Okay, no matter how smart you are. Okay, so if you are very cost conscious, then if you are innovative to reach out customers and genuinely add value, then customers comes to you. That's my journey. Okay, that nobody teach
So
me.
close scrutiny of costs.
Cost and also you need to really genuinely add value, not just closing the project. They need to really see the value. If they don't see the value, no man, maybe you'll get some projects here and there, but those are not sustainable. So value, you need to pursue yourself, not of course your customer will pursue, but you need to know what is the value you are adding at absolutely low cost. Okay, then if you are lucky, you can get some good pricing for international projects. But if the same project if you are doing for international project, you would take 10 times more money. That's a value. Because I do the one project for African company, I charge 10 times more than Indian, but the work effort is same. But I have to have both. I have to, because I need to show the references and also I need to get the revenue. Yeah, that's what it is.
Sir, being a startup means you start with an idea, which is maybe a new idea you're trying to disrupt, and then wherein you need to make estimates of the revenue. So you extrapolate based on certain hypotheses. So in this connection in our conversation today, did you have to review your revenue, which is monitored very closely on a monthly basis because you would have taken monies with certain commitments? So how did you manage, or did you push for revenue for the sake of revenue because your commitments were already out? So does that work against your interest, while being beneficial in the short term? It appears to be very attractive because you need to satisfy somebody, which for whatever reason, and then you do bend backwards to make the revenue part of it. But end of the day, as you go in the next 2 years.
Yeah, it's two things, sir. First thing is, it is not a periodic thing. For a CEO who invested his money bootstrap, it's everything, every day it is in mind. Okay, it's not a monthly, yearly kind of thing. Every time we think about that. We need to strike balance between two. Short-term revenues to make your payroll pay. That is something which I have to worry about it. Every month I have to pay salaries for my team. That is number one. Number two is I need to earn enough so that I invest in the innovation, R&D. If I don't do any one of these two, it will be a big problem for me. Okay, so I consciously invest on R&D, whatever is required. At the same time, I need to make sure that I have to make payments. Sometimes I lose something, but I don't worry because I can make it up. Some loans, some kind of thing. So classic.
So did you had to revise your revenue?
Of course. Yeah.
And did you attempt to look at it as a short-term measure that you boost your revenue for this quarter because the figures have to go to the PE? Luckily, as you said, it's a bootstrap. Then you have to convince yourself. So first thing is convincing yourself.
Convincing yourself.
So yeah. you would like to have some quick successes. That gives you strength, a boost for you to continue pursue your path.
Yeah.
Did you believe that? Did you attempt that, and then was it helpful for you?
No. We have to attempt. We have to attempt. It's not like it will not happen by chance. You have to be very careful and think about profitability. If you don't think about profitability, it will not come by default. Okay, you have to think very carefully. Even though if it is a small, larger profitability, whatever, you need to really have a careful planning for that. Okay, otherwise, you will be, as I said, the revenues may be coming, you will be using, then it's a problem. It's not only about how much money you personally make it, that's not secondary, but business continuity is a big challenge. Okay, if you don't have money to get an opportunity, then it will become a problem. Many companies do that. They get a good opportunity, but they don't have some revenue or money to catch that opportunity.
Anyone in the audience would like to add any questions? You can interrupt and then if you have.
This is my experience. Maybe you may disagree with that.
You can come over later also. So as we move on, you can think about it.
Can you throw some insights on the cash-to-cash cycle maintenance, especially on the mid-markets? Because the large companies managing this, it doesn't matter, especially the working capital, etc. But for mid-markets, it's really a very
big
challenge because you should not be in a cash crunch. Cash flow statement should be available. So just any thoughts?
Yeah, this is a very important question. Okay, so here, the mid-market, if you are a retailer, your cash-to-cash cycle is good because you have a terms of payment with procurement, and then cash is coming in the inventory. If you can manage that middle part, the inventory number of days, then you are better. But when it comes to manufacturing, especially project manufacturing, it's a big challenge. You have to be very careful. Okay, so one of the main problem is as a head of business, if you're not really taking care of the cash flow in the projects by taking some proper advances. Okay, actually I took some big hits by not paying attention to this. We thought, okay, project came, we'll do it, we'll take money. No. If you don't take money and work without advance, you will definitely be in problems. Because, after advance, any payments, they will scrutiny you and give you. Okay? Advance is the only money without scrutiny they will give you. Okay? You must get it. Otherwise, I lost a lot of projects and money because of that. Because, if it is a continuous manufacturing, that's something different. Okay? So if it's a manufacturing, you are selling 100 units, that's okay. But if you're in the project manufacturing, you need to make, otherwise you will be a big problem.
I just want to add one more thing to what you said. One is definitely the advance. Second is the final bill.
Final bill is your bonus. Final bill is your bonus.
So that's a secret.
Yeah. That is your margin.
That is your bonus.
Your entire margin will go away if you're not collecting
Profit comes
it.
with the final bill.
That is your
Very true. Very
So
true.
unless you collect it, you have to have a team which is relentlessly following up.
Generally, what would be the ideal cash-to-cash cycle lead time? Generally in the mid-market. Let it be industry-specific also.
Yeah, you need to see, basically you need to be in a positive side. Okay, if you are in a positive side, you are safe. Okay, sometimes you will play here and there, but being the positive side is a good thing.
Cash flow.
Net is a good
cash
thing.
flow, you need to have positive.
Only problem you will find is, see, you have a limited things from the customer side and supplier side. Okay, you have limited because but in the middle part, inventory, where you have, that's where you have to have operational excellence. Okay, that's where you can control. The both other things, you cannot, you can control, but it depends on your strength. Okay, but in the middle one, you have to achieve excellence.
To add to that aspect, you have a lot of companies which are coming out with tools which will intermediate between the original, suppose if it is going to be a large company, and then you have they have their own set of payment cycle. You have no platforms which will help you to release the cash. Yeah, factoring is an old concept. Now you can discount it based on this thing. There are readily available this thing. It's mandated by the government itself. Trends platform it is called. So and that's all friendly. So it's available, I think, up to 12%, depending on the entity to which you are supplying on that side. On the vendor side, I say it's very tough. You will not be, because you don't have negotiating power being in a small scale size. So there, so net cash flow is what is referring to. So working capital cycle has to be positive.
Positive.
Cycle itself has to be, it can be few days positive, whatever, but it has to be positive and then monitor closely. I think yes, thank you. That's a very, very revealing facts which secrets is revealed. Thank you for that. I would like to, you can work on the next questions. I'll go to Nanda Taluri. Thank you, madam, for coming here. So I have a question like from the finance and analytics shared service seat, what is the biggest gap between what mid-market P&L report and what the cash actually says? So it's, keep this mind in context with the top question. Are mid-market companies genuinely profitable or just revenue fraud? That is the background.
So to start with, like you said, your P&L shows profit. But end of the day, cash is the king. All you need is to make sure you have the cash flows. So obviously the biggest gap always is working capital, right? Correct. And in terms of working capital, what you manage and how you manage makes a huge difference. And there are two aspects. One is a regular concern where you have a working capital need and there is a cycle. Like you said, it needs to be positive. But growing concerns will always, growing companies will always have increasing working capital as well. But the question is, at what cost is the additional sales coming, right? Are we taking additional sales by giving more credit period? Correct. That is the trap you walk into. Exactly. Right. The second is the growth paradox itself, that the reality is that before your growth gives you value, you have to burn some cash. Correct. You will need to put in, whether it is your capex, before it starts generating, there is some investment period. Or if not capex, distribution networks. And look at the few IPOs that happened in the current year. The Flipkart is now talking of getting into this instant delivery kind of a thing, right, which means they have to set up like millions of stores. Right. It's not hundreds and thousands. And it also depends on the value of each transaction. Now, to penetrate into the market as a new entrant where there are already some other players, Swiggy and others who are there, what will you end up doing? You will take up the small order values. Now that each order value itself will not pay for itself. Correct. Now there you have the problem of growth coming in at a cost. The whole idea is that you're taking this growth because if you establish yourself, then you will turn profitable.
Cost in terms of cash also.
You are not
burning
only,
cash.
you are burning cash. Forget the gap between P&L and cash. Here there is, you're actually not even making thing. The other thing is when you look at margins itself. Now, very often, especially like I come from the F&A outsourced business, like you're looking at EBITDA numbers. Your companies which show very healthy EBITDA margins, growing EBITDA margins. But despite that, there is a gap. And where is that gap? Because EBITDA, first of all, does not measure any financing costs. So what happens is you're looking at interest, you're not looking at debt repayments. You are not looking at all those things which matter for cash flows. And EBITDA also doesn't look at the timing of the cash. So that is a gap for sure. And then you also have other problems when I said timing of cash flows, deferred revenue kind of things. Companies book revenues when they get advances. And when the project is ending, that is where you're not getting the cash flows. So that timing matters.
Despite IFRS guidelines on revenue recognition, still all these things slip through.
These things, deferred expenses also. I have seen companies where advertising campaigns has been shown like a 3-year, 5-year kind of write-off period. So but then you advertise continuously on TV all the time.
So there's always a push for this showing up on the revenue front. So how do you counter it? How do you make that representation to make them understand? Just looking at the top line, I am going to become a 100 crore company, 1,000 crore, 5,000 crore. How do you push the relevancy of the transaction across? What kind of communication from a shared service perspective you engage in, which in your experience you have been able
I think one is definitely you need to measure the right things. One of the things that is very helpful is understanding the cash conversion cycle. Right. So one of the metrics is operating cash flow divided by EBITDA. That means if it is 1, basically your operating cash flow is equal to your EBITDA. If it is less than 1 also, up to 0.7, maybe okay. Below that is where the distress cycle. Right. You need to understand that you are getting into distress. If not today, tomorrow you will have a huge
be facing drought situation.
And another thing is making good cash forecasts. I think a 13-week cash forecast, and any good CFO, I feel the good CFOs are not looking at rear view mirror, that closing the books, looking at the P&L is absolutely doing like dissection of a dead body, right? You are just
pathology.
It is gone. It is over. What you need to focus on, your time should be not spent only on closing the books and finishing the numbers, but should be equally spent on making good forecasts. And I think the ability to plan for exigencies, especially now, with supply chain problems and all that, inventories are a huge problem, right? Various stages, whether you sometimes you have to just stock up raw materials at the right time. Sometimes you are stuck with your finished goods because of seasonality and you have missed the season. Now with every one of those things, if you should be able to predict your cycles and be able to say what cash flows are coming, what is it that I need to spend, what is the capex
you believe
required.
13 weeks is a sweet spot where high predictability is there.
Yeah.
So I think I tend to agree with you because I don't believe in
Beyond a
52. Beyond a quarter, because we don't know what's going to happen the next day. Forget about quarter itself. So quarter itself is, those days they used to say forecast, AOP, then 5 years. Every year you will keep on changing. And I think way past that. I'm happy you are being very realistic that entire company lives quarter to quarter. Unfortunately or unfortunately,
but you should not be living for just the quarterly numbers.
Exactly. That's the focus. So how do you, the communication is very important, or the management. Otherwise, course correction will be too late, and then all your shouting will be laid to waste. They'll be cheering in a sales conference party, celebrating bigger mark.
Spending more money.
Yeah, exactly.
So good PEs nowadays have also started looking at liquidity.
CFO's concerns.
They are looking at liquidity also. They are not just asking you to show the top line or even the EBITDA margins and those
That's
numbers.
nice to hear. And especially in India, and after I think the near zero interest rate policy kind of ended, I think we are back to normal times all across the world. So PE money also comes with a high cost. So the LP fund also based on the higher expectation of IRR. So all that gets passed through. Then we kind of faced a funding winter also last year plus, no?
No, exactly, because there were times when PEs were just looking at top line growth and investing money. They have put in money at high valuations for companies that were burning cash.
Right.
Their exits are the problem now.
Yes.
Because not getting the valuation. See, if you're not looking at true cash flows for valuation, which is the traditional way of valuing companies, right?
Correct.
Based on free cash flows.
Correct.
But where are the free cash flow concept that was gone for a few years altogether?
Right.
Today now they are not able to make those exits and
if you
justify their.
if you look deeply, isn't it in back again in the name of AI wash?
Now all
AI
that
wash is being, how much is being, billions, I mean trillions are getting invested for data centers and where is
forget data centers. They
what
are
about the
still,
valuation?
Data centers at least will generate valuation. The problem is this AI. Now even the big anthropic kind of companies are not making cash today, right?
But they get valued at 5 trillion.
Yeah.
And then they have sold. So we need to be good salesmen also to sell and protect the
Flavor
company.
of the season.
Yeah, to protect the company, we need to be good salesmen. Otherwise, somebody walks away with such ridiculous valuations, and then money is off the table. The thing is, you may not participate in it, but when you are in the queue, you may not get the money because money is already focused 70% towards that. So you are left high and dry. So that kind of situation, I think only as responsible CFO like you and all here, I think should be addressed. So next part of it is, please.
Flavor of the season is so right, because we had the dot-com bubble.
Absolutely, I've lived through those.
And then we had all these startups where you had to just start a restaurant and people are willing to fund you. And now the latest is AI.
The thing is, it's not your money. People are putting in money and
other people.
Next, I just want to add to the question. It's very hypothetical. If you audited 10 mid-market Indian firms tomorrow, how many would survive a real market stress test?
To be very honest, I would say maybe 4 to 5 will survive. These are very disciplined companies, maybe promoter-driven companies, no PE money, no pressure. You are doing it because you want to make money, you have a generation to take care of, so you are disciplined with your working capital. I think that discipline, like he said, cost discipline, working capital discipline, you are not trying to sell for the sake of just getting a top line without seeing the margins, just for establishing it. Now, those will be some of those, and there are other companies where, for lack of other way of describing, I would say these are like, supply chain masters kind of a thing. These are companies that provide services to tier 1 companies. They can do good bill discounting and they are able to get the collections because all their suppliers are tier 1. See, the bigger problem, all this bill discounting and all that is that your customers also need to qualify for it, right? All your customers may not be such that be able to discount the bills. So these will be the kind of companies that will survive. The others have these distress warnings because of multiple things. One biggest problem is definitely inventory. There are so many supply chain disruptions happening, so unpredictable world that sometimes you have to hire. So manufacturing is the one that really suffers there. And like you said, project-based works, you will always have
but 50% of the Indian economy, you believe, are in safe direction.
Yeah, I think the other few which are in the difficulty are also, they have OD facilities, multiple banks, but the problem is
credit guarantee.
The overdrafts perpetually are overdrawn, or at least they reach a situation where they continuously need to increase their ODs. So they are never in a situation where working capital should be a cycle, right?
Right.
It should keep revolving and you should be able to manage. But then every few years they go and ask for more.
Are these other companies, are they managing their margin? Will they survive on a yearly basis? Maybe in the quarter they may take a hit and then take a calculated move that, I forego, like you said, Flipkart getting into it because it is, it is want to get into that mind share and geography of that kind of business. So they take a marginal hit in the short term 30 weeks, as you rightly put,
more than
they can survive, and then look at it, improving it. Does that as a strategy work out, or is it being followed, or if it is being followed, will it work?
I think certain things are strategic decisions, like you said, being prudent about what you are getting into. Capital projects innovation. All said and done, it's easy to say do NP and ARR and all that. But how well you are able to forecast those cash flows, how much business I can get out of it. So a lot of times people are stuck because they make huge capital investments and then now I have machinery or whatever I invest in it, so I have to get business. So doesn't matter. Initially, I would have assumed some margins. Now, even if it is low margin, I need to keep it running, so I will take more business. That kind of situations are there with people. You also have these PSU kind of customers, big brother, who will not pay up on time. And like he said, you need to take advances, but then your final bill is always stuck. And you'll also have bank guarantees and all for which you are putting in money and money is stuck in multiple places. So these are situations which are very peculiar to our environment which we work.
Right.
And there is no escaping from that.
So if I add one more point here, in India, especially in India, what is happening is people want to construct, do the capex investments properly, construct a new plant or something. But when you want to establish business processes, they don't consider this as part of the capex. Okay, they consider just ये तो कर लेंगे बाद में, we'll do it later. So you construct plant, everything. Now you commission it. Now you don't have business process. Now you started doing it. You don't invest enough to establish business process. Then you do the trial and error. You bring somebody. So this become a big problem. Now you have invested millions in the plant and equipment and everything, but you don't have business process. You don't have systems in place. Okay, considered is an expense. This is one of the main problems of mid-market. Whereas I work with multiple companies in Europe, US. So when you want to construct a plant, yes, plant construction, business process setup, systems, and then the person who is maintaining it. Everything together comes as a packet. So they don't have any problem. So right from the day one, they have business. But in India, majority of the companies, they don't start with processes and systems. This is one big gap, sir.
Lacking in processing.
Yeah.
Process.
I think it's at a very relevant point, that investment is where people start of trying to save. So proper measurement criteria, proper systems.
But coincidentally, we are also the global providers of process support to the entire.
But how many only export services? You ask any export of services, do you want to serve in domestic market? They don't want to look at domestic.
They are very difficult to sell.
Difficult to sell. They will haggle, and the guy who is giving you that thing will also implement it at subpar because you haggled so much.
So, I mean, it's one differential question. So, as a shared service center, has India's performance been very credible, and then in terms of comparison with any other center all across other global centers across other parts of the world?
I think definitely in the F&A side, India is pretty strong.
Okay.
We still probably are not doing the entire decision making here.
Right.
Very often it starts with transactional work and then slowly it moves up the value chain. The heavy lifting, we are very good at it. Okay. There is absolutely, and we will automate, we will do far better than actually the original places where it is done.
You don't foresee competition from Philippines or Vietnam stepping into it?
I think Philippines will definitely have an advantage from language, but the scale we have, the population we have, I think that helps us really.
So I think we are running short. Over to you, Kiran. Okay, again, I'll just repeat the question. Are Indian mid-market companies genuinely profitable or just revenue problem? That's the backdrop for this. Working across functions, where does revenue pride get manufactured? Sales, operations, or the boardroom itself?
Sure. You have come two questions into one. First, let me address the first part. Revenue pride, revenue focus usually flows from the top because that is where the strategy is decided, and that is where the organizational DNA in terms of culture flows from. So it's manufactured right at the top. Now, when it comes to revenue proud, I do not want to be seen in a negative connotation, because suppose an organization is trying to venture into a new market or coming with a new product line. Initially, they would need to explore and be a little bit more adventurous in terms of getting the market share and creating a buzz in the market. That's what gives the momentum. However, at some point in time, it has to transition to margin and cash flow. And till then, they need to have sufficient cash reserve or funding mechanism available for them to address. Now, when it comes to mid-market companies, they are literally sandwiched between two difficult situations. One is they do not have the bargaining power to influence the suppliers. Okay, and if they are import dependent, they will have additional challenge, the Trump impact, right? So you don't know which side of the bed he has got up and what decision is going to take and how it's going to impact your raw material cost. That is one. The other part is most of these mid-market companies do not have their own IP. Right? They do mass market items generally. Very few have IP. And the big companies, OEMs, or the service recipients, they have a lot of clout in terms of bargaining power. So there's no pricing power either. So they're stuck between these two. When you are stuck between two, only option, as Madam also said, Sir also said, is to manage your operations ruthlessly efficiently. Okay, and that is where I think, though there's a lot of bad press also about AI, but with the use of not tools, with the use of unstructured data, which we have not been using as professionals as on date, I think there is a lot can be done to manage that. Okay. Ultimately, it is manage the operations more efficiently. Right? I will get to that while answering the second part of your question. And ultimately, being revenue proud may be good initially, but at some point in time, it has to transition into. So that's what.
Context.
Yeah. Ultimately, it has to generate cash flow and free cash flow, and ultimately, proof of the pudding is the cash. As Madam said, cash is the ultimate truth. Anything that an organization does depends on that. Coming to the second part of your question, what a leader should be measuring or looking into when they are dealing with a company, I would say free cash flow from operation aligned with root cause assessment framework leading to decisive decisions to correct. Now, when I say that, what do I mean? Let me explain. When a company is trying to get into managing their operations efficiently, as finance professionals, we end up giving numbers and dashboards based on the numbers as a output. And that is what we generally analyze. But when we look at an organization from data perspective, only top 10%, if you look at it as an iceberg, only top 10% is structured data. The rest of the data is all below the surface, hidden, right? So what do I mean by unstructured data? Hidden beneath the surface. Your past mistakes, the lessons you have learned, the quality reports, customer emails, all the exchanges that you had. These are all unstructured, and these data, till recently we didn't have the capacity to derive benefit from these data points because we didn't know how to manage the unstructured data and integrate with our financial reporting. I'll give you an example. Let's say you are looking at a report where it's showing that your raw material expenditure has gone up by 10%, and your power cost has gone up by 10%. This is what your dashboard is saying. And that is showing you the what happened. As Madam said, it's looking at the past and giving you a coroner report, this has happened. Now, it's not explaining why and how to address it. Right. That is where this unstructured data comes into the fore. Suppose your organization has a model which is trained on all these unstructured data elements that you have. The model will be able to pinpoint, saying that this particular increase in raw material consumption happened because of quality of input that came from X vendor. Or boiler temperature went down because of feed issue, the fuel feed issue. Right. It will be able to draw contextual information for you to act. So that explains the why part. Then how unstructured data helps you in addressing the how part. That is where the knowledge that you have captured in digital form from various senior members of your team comes into the fore. So any senior member who is working with you may know by default as to if the boiler is performing in a specific fashion, what are the things that need to be taken care of, right? So therefore, we need to ensure that this kind of information is also captured as part of the overall the framework of our reporting, so that the company is able to manage the cash flow in a way that is conducive for survival.
What you are saying, sir, is very revealing. So to put it in a short, brief sentence, using the current available new generation tools of AI, you look at populating and collecting, gathering all the unstructured data which we had because for lack of tools, and then try to arrive at a certain information, new information leads, which may change your decision-making structure.
True.
So that's a fantastic thing. So that is a tool available for, again, mid-market companies.
Yes.
I think which was not available earlier because they couldn't do, and then you had a different skill set.
Yes.
It's a very excellent point.
Yeah, just to add to that, before we venture into any such initiatives, there are certain groundwork that needs to be done. Conditions apply. First, we need to be data disciplined. We need to have the data captured in right format. And as Madam said, we need to be process disciplined as well. And these two precede the technological intervention. That, the initial part forms the 80% of the entire activity. And balance 20% is actual implementation.
Okay. Yeah. So the data architecture is the foundation. So what is happening now is with the mid-market companies, they want to jump into AI bandwagon, but they don't have the data readiness. The reason is finance, procurement, sales, if traditionally they are data driven, there is not a problem because purchase they pay, sales they collect, and finance they account. Okay. In between the inventory manufacturing areas, the digitization is very poor. Because of that, you end up in inventories, they don't follow first in, first out kind of thing. And in manufacturing, majority of manufacturing companies, they don't have proper data. Okay, because of that, okay, they cannot go into AI bandwagon or any technology. So having a right platform, one of the is very essential. So one of the right platform is supply chain execution systems, okay, which is your warehousing management, your manufacturing execution, your transportation. So this is the layer you need to have based on need. It's not mandatory, based on the need.
So what kind of ROI you can look at having such kind of supply chain layer on system?
This is an important question, sir. Everybody ask me.
No,
I'll tell you. This is like an enabler, more than ROI. This is an enabler. Without that, you will have a big problem down the road. Okay. So if you have a warehousing, see, there is a difference between warehouse management and inventory management. Inventory management is just accounting part. Warehouse management is to optimize your warehouse operations. Manufacturing execution is to optimize your manufacturing execution. In the it is accounting part. Okay, this is done well. If you want to support AI or IoT or any other technology, build the data architecture first. Whatever is required, it's not you need to do. It's not that you do everything. Whatever is required for you to optimize, you have a proper data architecture. Without data architecture, don't even go to the AI.
I would like to add to what you said. This question often comes, especially from CFOs. Okay. Now, talk about ROI. There are two aspects to it. I'm giving you certain information with the use of various tools, including AI. And ROI derived from the action you take based on the information I've given you.
Correct.
If you don't take action based on the information I've given you, it's not to generate ROI.
Correct.
So that's a wrong question to ask when it comes to these kind of tools. There's another way of looking at it. If you are doing plant level automation or optimization, their ROI can be measured. You can say, earlier the throughput was so much, now it is higher. Or earlier wastage was so much, now it is lesser. So I just wanted to add to what Mr. Abdul said.
If action is taken,
yes.
then it would be an enabler
Yes.
as a catalyst.
Yes. Yes.
Certainly it will have an ROI,
Yeah.
which has to be read through.
Yes.
So unless he gives that,
Yes.
whatever he may say in other words,
yes.
it will not have an impact, no?
Correct. Correct.
How will you sell it to the board? Correct. How will you send somebody who is going to supply you the cash? I'm going to invest so much. Let me have some kind of this thing. Yes, follow-up actions has to be done. Without that, it's conditional.
Yes.
It's conditional on those things.
Actions being taken.
Yes.
Yes.
So there's no blame game or something.
Exactly.
So, but every such a tool, as he rightly said, no, the layered platform can be an enabler. It has got a return.
Yeah.
Without that, nobody is going to look at putting money. So how
Yes.
much is that?
Yes.
That may be in multiples of what we think. It may be even 40%. That's why I asked that question, because I feel small things actually will have a big impact, especially when it is a kind of a bottleneck.
Yeah.
Look at the bottleneck. You just remove it with a small cost, but the flow throughput will be substantial in physical terms.
Yeah.
So with that intention in mind, that's my question.
Yeah. I will just add to, if you don't mind. Yeah. Pardon?
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. So when it comes to these kind of tools, speed is the essence. So I've heard even during my career that I get financial report 15 days down the line. By the time the lot of water has flown down there's nothing that I can do.
Correct.
Where these kind of tools can help is that giving you inline, continuous input on what's happening, and it will also point you to the right area where you need to pay attention. Then how do you act on it and how do you make it productive, beneficial, is left to you.
So I think, I think it's part of the question, but in the interest of time for the next panel, I would like to, make it very brief, 30 seconds for you. To me? You alone, sir. So I think what is one cross-functional metric that if CFOs actually track would kill the revenue vanity habit overnight?
Yeah. First of all, I don't want to call it vanity for the reasons I mentioned earlier.
True,
it depends on which
absolute
stage of
contextual.
True. The one single matrix, we alluded to that point earlier, which is free cash flow generation. And ultimately, whatever we do as an organization and whatever every department does has to result in free cash flow.
Fantastic.
So that would be one metric I would be looking at as CFO and as CEO as well.
That's very, very true. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. I think we are in time for the next panel. I hope anybody has any question, you can probably throw it to the panel before we move on to the next panel. Anything, because they have shared very valid insights. I doubt that any of us would cross those outside this room. And then for the benefit of everybody in the FENG, I think it's a great sharing. Good insights. Thank you all. any question, you can probably note it down. We can do it later also. So over to you. Thank you. Raja? Yeah, please join for the next one.
5 minutes break?
Yeah, we can have a 5 minutes break.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Let's start the panel. And audience here or online, this is the most fun part of the day. So ask all the toughest questions to these three gentlemen, not to me. Okay, please remember that. So essentially, our topic talks about when the market rewards shortcut, who blinks first. And when me and Arun were deciding on the topics, we just went back a decade just to see what type of a business model, business structures have been there. And when we started, it was simply a manufacturing or a services. There was nothing in between. There was no B2B to a C. There was no D2 to a C. So we didn't have a Swiggy. We didn't have an Uber. So all these new business models have been coming up in the last decade, plus minus 5 years. Why? Maybe cash funding was easy, and that gave rise to a lot of conversations, a lot of skyrocketing valuations, even though the fundamentals may not have been the right of green, all shades of gray or black or whatever, definitely not green. And while that was happening, a lot of the organization's C-suite made a bargain between efficiency and expediency. And it led to a situation where even as basic as governance was thought to be an obstacle rather than an enabler. And why is that? Because shortcuts are very sexy, they are very seductive. They show immediate results. Your cost starts coming down, your dashboards turn green, then what effect or whatever. And then after a couple of quarters, karma hits back. And by that time, the people may not be there, people may have moved. So the gentleman who is there on the board, on the hot seat, manages that. That's where the dichotomy between a good governance and a bad governance lies. And that's where we thought of getting three of you together to discuss and debate on what's happening. Are you still seeing the same thing happening today? Or what are the 2 or 3 insights that you can share with us in the course of today's discussion? So first and foremost, I think, let me start with Anil. You lead a very large operations for this Saudi Arabian group. And when you talk of operations, there are daily discussions around operational efficiency, cost cutting. And initially it sounds very, very exciting. And after some time, you may have seen it's really not going the way it should happen. So the question to you is, have you seen that happen in the last, not your entire career, maybe in the last 6 months, 9 months, a year? And on hindsight, what do you think went wrong in making such a decision rather?
Okay. So it's actually asking a 30-year question and asking me to compress into 6 months and 5 minutes. So that's, sorry, it's impossible for me to answer that.
We can escalate that to the FENG chapter lead.
But let me talk from my experience in the outsourcing company. In the beginning, things were extremely simple for everybody. Labor arbitrage was always in our favor. So you could get, and nobody knew how exactly an outsourcing will work. So I'm just using the word outsourcing loosely. Please include your shared services, your GCCs, your third-party outsourcing, whatever new jargons have come, just include everything into this bucket. So initially, when nobody knew exactly how it's happening, this group of champions came and said that we'll bring it here, we will do it, labor arbitrage, this and that. It is easy for the service provider because if you look at a typical US-based organization, their one month's salary is what you pay for a year to a consultant or a processor in India. It was very simple. So you got it here, you started getting good profits. And because you are doing profits, you need to ensure that it continues for a long period of time. They started throwing in some tidbits here. You see those flat screens where things move at very fast pace. So it looked very nice. And I've seen Americans and Europeans gaping at the screen and saying, wow, this is wonderful. But then technology came in and technology started aiding the client. So you have technologies which enabled applications to talk to each other. They started getting applications which would start doing some reporting in a quicker manner. Once that started coming, the hell broke loose. Now, what the service providers tried to do is they started to pull out some rabbits out of the hat. Things like OCR. Wow, now you can digitally read the document. Now you can automatically upload the invoices into your EMS or whatever. You could do digital reporting, you could do online analytics and all that. But that also was more like a shiny coin. And like all shiny coins, the sheen goes away pretty quickly. And post that, the fight started. And you have a set of clients who are never satisfied because they come with a old memory of being cheated, or for a lack of a better word, or being paying bigger amounts in the earlier period. Now they're asking for a larger pay cut. That really created a problem in the entire way the entire services were being rendered. I think a part of the question is, how was it delivered?
Delivered, yeah.
So the delivery was simple. It is more like getting the work, trying to give some nice automated tools, trying to do new words like transformation, which also I do. I also do transformation. So I also did a lot of jargons like that in my past life. I will do transformation for you. I will look at your process re-engineering, fancy words, and delivery happened like that till the clients got smarter. And now it's a daily fight. Every time, even now, though they are internal clients, they do come back to say, Anil, what is the whole purpose of giving the work to a shared service, and the cost is very high. So earlier it was third party, now it's my own family which is coming and asking me why the cost is high. It's a ongoing cycle which will happen.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I think with that I'll move Mohan. You also run a large GBS organization based out of Bombay. So,
Right.
I think in a GBS organization, there will always be a fight between productivity. You did so much FTEs and so much cost base, what's your cost to serve, and what's the next quarter look like. So, but sometimes don't you feel that this pull and push between productivity and governance not exactly seeing eye to eye? They are moving away from each other. So
That's right.
from a leadership standpoint, how do you manage those? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, when you report back to the board, you would need to show them a congruence between both these buckets. So as an individual, how do you manage that congruence?
Look, I mean, I think put it across very nicely, right? I mean, he was in a third-party outsourcing world. Now, let's say the ones who are basically questioning him are part of the same family, right? I mean, I operate in a very similar environment, right? I mean, I run a shared services for Wholesome, where we're talking about finance and accounting end-to-end, H2R services, a little bit of analysis and reporting, and a few other transformation projects and some stuff. Right, so the ask is, I think the cost arbitrage-oriented benefits have already been kind of reaped because the setup is now 5 years, right? I mean, they moved from Europe and they moved from, let's say, different parts of the world to India. I think the benefit came through, and that was very, let's say, nice, juicy. So they really kind of enjoyed that. Now, we also have a situation where we're talking about, let's say, working with 500 odd people, where, let's say, people aspire to kind of move on. So that one of the challenges that we always kind of have is, what is that, let's say, next level that you can actually kind of showcase to your, let's say, talent? While you're not able to, let's say, put a very clear roadmap for every individual, I mean, that's going to be very, very hard. You have, let's say, you come across a situation where we're talking about people leaving the organization and then, let's say, somebody else coming in. This particular shift of, let's say, people moving out, new people coming in, basically kind of creates a certain amount of noise within the, let's say, business. Then they raise a hand saying that, oh, pay you, right? Then they become let's say they're not part of the same family. They start behaving as if they're from a different world, right? I mean, they start, oh, then why are we actually kind of, let's say, investing so much? We have done blah, blah, but we don't really kind of see the results. I think it's a continuous, it's a vicious cycle, if I have to kind of put it across. So what is very important in the messaging from, let's say, being the head of GCC, for me, back to the leadership team or to the country is don't look at transactions, right? Look at the strategic value that you're able to kind of deliver. Right? 5 to 6 years back, we started something as a transactional process, but now we should not really be talking about, let's say, transactions. Now we should really be talking about how are we able to kind of bring more discounts onto the table? How are we able to kind of bring in more governance? How are we able to kind of, let's say, ensuring that your compliance is absolutely 100%. Right, I think these are the value adds or the benefits that we are now actually kind of putting across the table, while we still continue to kind of manage or firefight certain escalations, certain issues, certain errors. I think those are going to be part and parcel of life, right? I mean, when you work with human, there's absolutely no, let's say, a situation where you're going to say we are at 100%. Right? You will still have, let's say, one odd issues that comes up. I think that's going to be part and parcel of your life. You deal with it, but never forget to showcase what is that value that this organization is able to kind of generate. I think that basically kind of brings in the real insight and make them think, well, I think there's definitely a point. And also look at matrices as to how things improved over a period of time. Don't start from the start of your GCC. Start backwards. Start a few years back in the business. Show them the mirror as to what it was when you guys were managing and where are we now. I think that basically kind of brings a very clear insight in terms of what we have done and what more can be done. Right? That's basically
so go
something
beyond the baseline, then draw an entire narrative, baseline -3 plus now. Good, interesting. Hardest question for you, Sundar. Should make you smile. So these two are very operational gentlemen, leadership roles. And this is something that I see as a consultant when I go and meet CFOs. And sometimes I feel that the CFOs and the CEOs, when they call in advisors like me and you, they have already decided on what they want to do. They kind of need an external validation to what they are about to do. Do you also feel the same? And if you feel the same, what are the 2 or 3 things that they have asked you to do in the recent past? No trade secrets. I don't know if you'll be angry with me, but apart from trade secrets, what's your intake on that particular comment?
Wonderful question. This comes from the perspective of sitting on both sides of the table. So we've been in organizations for a long time and took on another hat of sitting on the other side of the table and then meeting very similar people or people of the same group that we sat on. Right? It's not that people don't know what they need to do. Everybody knows.
Correct.
As a CFO or on the board, every one of us knows what's the right thing. So then why do you need an external agent at all? It's very simple. When you know what needs to be done, you have a day job. You're responsible for strategy as a CFO or a board member or a CEO. You're also responsible for strategy, but you're also responsible for getting things done, the operational issues. Everything comes back and the buck stops there. So you know exactly what your problems are. You know how to resolve them. Everything's given. Every one of us has gone through all these things and we go through these every day. There's no difference. So then why do you need a consultant? You need a consultant because there are 3 kinds of people. And this goes back, I'll probably extend this a little bit long, if that's okay.
Sure.
I had, all of us would have heard of Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw. Definitely one of India's best military minds. I was very fortunate to have worked with him in a company where he was a chairman of our board. And he made a very important statement to me. He made it to all of us. In fact, I was part of that gathering which had the luck of listening to him. And he said, the Indian army is like every other great army in the world. And we're definitely among the top 5 best military forces in the world. He said, and as the head of that military organization, he said, we've got some brilliant minds, some excellent guys who are definitely the best in the world. And then we've got a third kind, the definite worst of the group. But in the middle, we've got a lot of amiable frauds. This was the exact phrase that he used, a lot of amiable frauds. Now, in every company, we have these characters. In every organization, we have these characters. The first group, if you're looking at transformation, is very easy. You will always have people
where they will tell you, yes, this is the transformation, I buy in, I will go with you, and I'll ensure that I am fully supportive of it, and they will work towards it. They are the best guys. Hug them. And there is a third group, which is every time you tell them this needs to change, they will tell you 20 things why it should not change. If you force it down their throat, they'll come back and tell you, because you forced it down my throat, now I am not able to do this, the process is broken. Those are also easier to deal with, because you can fire them or get them reskilled and then move them out of the way and find somebody else who will be able to do it and get your transformation activity done. And then there is this amiable fraud category. They will come into every meeting, they will tell you, they will nod their head, they will shake everything, they will shake their head in absolute agreement. They may even give you some nice comments in a particular meeting, saying that they are fully supportive. At the end of the day, they will go back, have a nice cup of tea or coffee and maybe a few other things later in the evening. They will come back to the next meeting where they will be exactly where they left off in that meeting with no work beyond that. And that's the most dangerous thing. Now, if you are the CEO or the CFO and you're running a transformation organization, this is the group that you need to be most wary about. You're responsible for operational delivery. The third group will come to you and blame you for every activity. You're also responsible for operations. You have to get work done. You know what needs to be done. But if you force it down your way, you're always going to be fluxed with these kind of people. And that's why you need an external agent to push it, who does not have operational responsibility, where that individual will come in with a whip, empowered by the board, and they'll tell you, this is what needs to change, this is what you need to do it. They will get the PMO office to whip this guy and get their backsides raw, so that your activity will still be done. And at the same time, your operational day-to-day activities will not get impacted. It's not that you don't know. Everybody knows. We've all been through all those aspects of our life. At least definitely in this room, a lot of people who are listening to us. But the entire problem is, you don't want to be bogged down by operational people and naysayers. And that's why I thought this would be relevant.
Absolutely. And love the phrase amiable fraud.
Yeah, not his.
His. And I think organizations will have around 70% of this.
Yes.
As 20 or 80%, if not more.
Even sometimes, to even identify those
Microphone. No,
very nice said. To identify those class B teams, you need somebody who can spend time and understand. It is very dangerous if you don't identify them, because they will bring they jeopardize the whole transformation. One example is our CEO. There was my boss. Okay, he was a program manager and I was a consultant. So to promote me as a project manager, he promoted him as a director. Okay, everybody surprised. Then he asked everybody, why did you promote him to a director? Because I want to get rid of him in the way. I want somebody who can do the job. I'll deal with him later. So sometimes even promoted to kill them. Okay, so that was, and after 6 months, he could not perform that job. He eventually left. Okay, so sometimes, the CEOs have to take help. So this was advice given by an external consultant to him. Okay, you cannot fire him directly.
We still have a job. We still have a job.
Oh, that's a good technique.
I'll just add on to what Sundar said. One of the biggest advantage we get when we hire external consultants is that they bring in a team who are specialized in this activity. And in all the outsourcing engagements that I've seen brought into my companies, there's a team called change management team that comes with the consultant. And this change management team is the person who looks at the first category, uses them as a front line. The third categories, they recommend for either removing or taking them away. And these amiable frauds are the people where the change management team I have seen, because I was a part of that team at some point of time. They work very closely with these people and try to move them or categorize them into an A category or a C category. If it is A, your team becomes larger. If it is C, your team becomes smarter. That's the
Good. So I think we have established, both of us still have our jobs. They are doing good job on operations, amiable frauds, but the harder question is what happens when this pressure that you're talking of doesn't simply let go. What's the breaking point? What's the threshold that you have? So you can start thinking of the answer, and I'll bring up a question now first for Anil. So you have clients, you have vendors, you have, say, third parties. Let's stick to clients and vendors. So if there is a pricing pressure or a customer satisfaction issue, how do you really reach a breaking point first? Is it you pushing the client, you pushing the vendor, or ultimately the customer who gets beaten up into the entire rigmarole that happens? So how do you manage that?
So, in my experience, maybe I'm wrong, my experience has taught me that pricing has never been a problem. One of my earliest gurus in the outsourcing sector, he was a retired Air Force, US Air Force person, nothing to do with finance and accounting. He was a hardcore pilot. He told me once over a drink that my first engagement was an F&A outsourcing, and we were probably L2 or L3, but he still got engagement. It was not because of pricing at all. It is because of the trust that the consultant brings on the table. It is about convincing the person of the fair play that I am going to do. It is about explaining to them, when we are working for you, these are the pitfalls, these are the potential hazards. So it is never been, I have seen multiple engagements, it has not been about L1 at all. It has been about how you convince the person of the honesty of your intent in delivering. If that is agreed upon, there is no problem at all. I'll give a different example here also. I can't obviously state names. There is one mother of all deals that happened. It was supposed to be a big deal in the market. Within 3 years flat, with 3-month notice, they just terminated the contract. Why? Because that it was obvious one, but it was not meeting any other criteria. The OLAs, what we call as operational level agreements, they were not agreed upon. The sound on the floor was not listened upon. The CSAT scores were never understood. They were just doing things on basis. SLAs were being measured. It is easy. SLAs were measured, but process metrics were not being measured. Right, so for me as a consultant, I am also a consultant, okay? So as a consultant, for me, process metrics are more important because that is where the process maturity can be measured. The company can move from a point A to a point C. SLS is simple. What he said and what we always used to talk about, watermelon metrics. It looks very green on the outside and very, very red inside. In my current company, one of my CFOs keep talking about operation successful patient diet. These are those scenarios where everything is green, but the employees are crying. The end customers, not the CFO, but the people working underneath, the finance operations people, they are crying. And metrics is going away. For example, your first pass yield is going away. Your AP aging more than 90 days is just going away. Your AR collectibles is going up, and you're creating more and more recoverables and provision, which means it's of no use. That is where watermelon's effect is operation successful patient. For example, we look at yeah, of course, all examples.
I just give a name.
Company names is maybe different. No. All companies. So in that way, all companies follow the same problem with the process. If you look at, for example, your invoice processing, you are supposed to be at a threshold of 95% accuracy. You are achieving 99%. You are bright green. But then with that, you also have to do what is the first touch. If the first touch is low, which means a large chunk of your invoices still in the parking queue which have not been processed at all. What is the average number of times invoice has to, what is the average number of days it takes for an invoice to come into your queue and get processed? If it is 45 days, 50 days, it has actually been a metric which I found out. If it is 45, 50 days, you are paying your vendors with like 60, 70 days of delay, but you process them correctly. So your accuracy is correct.
Yeah, I would like to reiterate and recall to our first discussion, panel discussion, and to the statement by Kiran, that, you know, we do not follow through on the actions, but we just have that something bad has happened and then you leave it at the table. But that you don't follow through this particular metric, which is, you know, kind of an action which is, has to be looked at to get the results. So I think we discussed this. I'm able to relate it. I just want to flag it, highlight it actually.
Just building upon what you said and what Kiran was talking of follow through, there is a big gap between intent and compulsion. But that depends at an individual level, not at the managerial level. Even the manager pushes, as somebody was saying, I think Sundar was saying that amiable frauds, there will be no reaction at all.
So do you believe
there will
it
be no
is
follow through.
Is it a culture?
It's
a culture issue?
I think yes, you are hitting a very sensitive topic, and this should be a topic of discussion by itself. I personally feel that the Indian way of tackling challenges is very different from the rest of the world. And our by nature approach of doing things in a jugaad way,
on
the fly, shortcuts, that comes. So I think it's everything. It's everything, and I think that will open up Pandora's box if you start talking of that angle. But that. So I look at it a different way. Our approach to understanding risk and mitigating that is very different from the rest of the world. So to what Kiran was saying, there is no follow-through. There is no follow-through because the person who has been tagged to that particular action doesn't understand the implication. Or if he doesn't understand the implication, he's part of that amiable fraud group. So the way an Indian analyst works, vis-a-vis an analyst works in Europe, and I'll ask to chime in here, is very different. That again piggybacks on what Arun was talking of. Part of our approach to deliver.
Also, I think there is a big thing, like you said, the following. You do a RCA, you will get delegated in
Uh,
I think a very typical Indian style of doing it is delegating. Ultimately, the person who made the error is doing his RCA and says human error because of fatigue or something like that.
Exactly. Love this comment because this is something me and Anil is already started smiling. So you have seen this so many. So that's what you are talking of. I mean, it's the approach of how we tackle issues that becomes.
To digress, I operate in close to 17 countries. I mean, hire people in 40 countries. I mean, now the CXO positions are pretty much cross-border talent is plenty, like somebody from Australia to be. So I felt that the one that made a huge distinction with India is our technology workers now. At the same time, I felt the finance professionals from India are extremely successful in Middle East because their ability to financial controllership is very good, but not so much outside the Middle East. And so there is a huge cultural lag is there between us and rest of the Western world.
I think if we start talking of this, we will not end today's session. But this is the topic, not for the next session. Yeah. So Arun, our work is reduced because he gave us the topic. Thank you. So coming back, next question is for Man. As a leader, you have your KRAs, you have to keep so many of your friends and followers and enemies, all of them happy. One thing that popped my mind is when you think of taking the not shortcuts, all the incremental changes that you need to do, there'll be a point of time where you'll think that if I take that incremental step, it's not going to help because it's going against what you're doing today. And there's a chance of having a real friction with the leadership. At the same time, you don't want to be seen as a anti-change guy, a guy who doesn't want change. So how do you manage such difficult conversations?
Right. So I think just to give you a bit of a background to, let's say, my perspective on how the organization really kind of perceives me, I'm possibly the first person to kind of stand up and say, change is the only constant thing in life. Right? I mean, if we are not adapting to changes, I think we don't really have a chair in the room. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's something we've been kind of practicing and preaching, or let's say implementing. So I think that has made my life easier. But I think we do come across situations where, let's say, your group corporate office, or let's say a group organization basically kind of wants you to kind of squeeze, reduce cost, take whatever you want to do, right? I mean, take a shortcut, but these are the numbers that we want you to kind of achieve. But this is a real-time problem, and this basically, let's say, comes into a situation for people like Anil and myself, because we are termed as the guardians of governance. Correct. But we are not allowed to actually do the governance 100% because there's cost pressure, which basically kind of, let's say, supersedes everything. Right? There could be situations where you will have to stand up and say no, but the situation could also, let's say, come that you're actually kind of talking to the senior employee of the organization, who is the CEO, or let's say the group CFO. You just can't really kind of say no. Right? So in such situations, I think the way I really look at it is, I try and kind of, let's say, quantify the risk financially of taking a shortcut or implementing, let's say, the solution really want us to kind of achieve. Number one, that doesn't really kind of help you because you are seen as a bottleneck because you're not willing to do what they really want you to. So always have an alternate, right? I mean, you come up with a solution which basically, let's say, could be satisfying or fulfilling majority of what it is, not compromising the compliance, not compromising your governance, but also which can live longer, right? Avoid shortcuts or short-term benefits, because most of the short-term benefits basically are short-lived. It does not really kind of help you reap the real benefit. I could talk about one example, right? I mean, there are situations when, let's say, you need to kind of, let's say, reduce costs. The CFO basically kind of comes up to you, I don't know what you do. By end of the month, by end of the year, I want you to go down from 100 to 80. That's basically it, right? I don't care. This is basically what I really want. So my, let's say, immediate reaction to it, all right, let me take what you say. I will come back to you of what I could really achieve. So where I haven't said a yes to him, I haven't told a no to him. Right, come back, look at, let's say, your overall service cost. Because, I mean, the typical mentality of an individual, or let's say somebody who's, let's say, very cost focused is, oh, you have 100 people, cut 20, right? So 20% of the cost goes out. It's not necessary that removing 20 people basically means you're removing 20% of the cost. Eventually, you basically kind of remove the bottommost 20%, which could only result in 6% of, let's say, your overall cost. But at a headcount level, I think you basically have achieved what, let's say, your senior person wanted to achieve. So I go back, look at the overall service cost, not really the headcount. Right? Possibly, I only do a 6% reduction, which could result in 20% of, let's say, cost for the overall organization. When you have a plan, then you go back, discuss. I think that really kind of helps. And, that also helps you build a confidence and the trust in what you can deliver, that you have a real thought process behind it, and you're able to kind of execute. I think that really kind of gets acknowledged and appreciated, not the moment you say no.
Got you. So a tactical retreat, regroup. So that's the way. Okay.
One interest.
Action.
Yeah, Sam Mannix in action. And I was thinking the art of war when he was talking of the tactical retreat and then regrouping. Art of war. So next session is all yours. Art of war.
One interesting thing which I came to know in the last few years is some of the GCCs that are coming up are not looking at a cost reduction per se in that definition. It is more about what is the value that you can add to the organization, number one, and what is the percentage that you can add to the bottom line of the company. So instead of becoming a cost-based organization, and I can tell you the name after this meeting,
Sure.
The GCC now is also a business driver. So anybody who is contributing to the bottom line directly or contributing to the top line in a way also becomes a business operator. So the new era of the GCCs and GOCs are to how to add to the bottom line, and that becomes a part of the annual budgeting exercise. And they have been one of the most successful GCCs in Bangalore.
Wonderful.
I can possibly add one word. I think this is definitely possible, and the world is definitely really into this direction. But the point here is the person who is driving the GCC or the GOC basically has to report into the CEO, not to anybody else. Then, this definitely kind of comes to play, delivers very, very good results. Because in a very simple world, everybody looks at, let's say, GCC as a cost center. Right? I mean, well, you could look at it as a cost center, but the value that the GCCs are able to kind of generate basically should outplay being considered as a cost center.
Good, but unfortunately I'm hearing shortcuts everywhere. Coming to Sundar. So if you think of the recent incidents around independent directors and so many organizations being pulled up for inconsistencies or taking shortcuts everywhere, do you think this is a result of the governance bodies, be it an MC or anybody, waking up just like a giant and thinking, let's fix this issue? Or is it the investors, as somebody else in the first panel was pointing out, that the investors are being more cautious today? They are able to see through on what everybody is doing and saying, look, stop here, let's get real. So what do you think is happening?
Okay. This question has to be looked at in multiple aspects. The first one is, I think, in terms of what's going to drive the markets. Market, investors, shareholders, companies, they're always going to run behind narratives. That's not going to change. It was no different in the year 1600 when you had Tulip Exchange in Holland. It's not going to be any different with, let's say, Nika IPO in 2021 at 600 times price earning ratio. And it's not going to be any different with SpaceX coming out with an infinite amount of private, PE ratio, because they're simply loss making, right? So there's nothing to calculate. You can say it's a negative number. You can also put it as 9999 for want of a better, the only limitation is you have only 4 digits that can get accommodated within that screener. So that's not really going to change. Everybody, every time, is always going to run behind narratives. And you get in life what you incentivize for. If I incentivize for something, and if I incentivize for a particular way of growth, I'm going to get that growth. Now, I heard a lot of other people saying, shortcuts, and it kind of gave me a feeling everybody thinks shortcuts are a bad thing. I hold a slightly different view. I mean, my favorite god is the Hindu god Ganesha, Vinayakar. And that guy, when he was incentivized by his parents, saying, I'll give you a fruit, he went around his parents saying, the parents said, you have to go around the world to get this. He and his brother, this guy said, I'll take a shortcut. Parents are my world, and he went around them and got this fruit. So shortcuts are not a bad thing. Okay. You may have to refer this back to Shiva and Parvati to figure out if he did the right thing or not. My view is you incentivize and you get what you incentivize for. So if you look at shortcuts, you have to differentiate it. You'll have good shortcuts and you'll have bad shortcuts. Now, I think Mohan made a statement saying that headcount reduction. Even in that, there are two different ways of looking at it. One is if I can automate a lot of things. If I go ahead and say I'm going to streamline it, I'm going to reduce the number of approvals that are required in a particular process so I can streamline my organization. That's actually a shortcut. You're still achieving the same process. You're getting rid of all the unwanted stuff, and you're achieving a result. That to me is a good shortcut. And then there is a bad shortcut. I don't care what it is, just remove 40% of my headcount. We've all gone through that, and we go through that every day in our day-to-day lives in organizations. But I think the good shortcuts are plenty. So you look at an ERP transformation, every CFO has gone at some point of time and multiple points of time in ERP implementations and transformation journey. What do? We go ahead. There are two ways of doing it. You build the long way. You say, okay, I will go ahead with as-is process maps. I'll go with 2B process maps. I'll clean up my master data, all this stuff. But that's a one-time job. After the transformation, it's a good shortcut. And then you say, no, I don't want to do all that. I will simply go ahead. I will not bother about. I'll remain with my as-is process maps. I'll remain with my manual controls. I want to do automated controls. Or if at all something comes in by default, I will do a manual override of the automated controls. That's a bad shortcut. So we got to look at shortcut from two perspectives. What is a shortcut? Let's take the definition. A shortcut is where you have a way to avoid unnecessary processes. That's a good shortcut. And what's a bad shortcut then? Well, it avoids the necessary processes. It's the exact antithesis. So as long as we go with good shortcuts, I think we're going to have a winning organization. I don't think in my experience with companies, a limited experience as compared to what we have in the room, and I'm happy to take views. I have not seen great companies achieving anything meaningful if they don't go for shortcuts. You have to go twice around the world and then achieve it. You will not have GE, you will not have Honeywell, you will not have Bosch, you will not have 3M. You will not have any of the, the Unilevers, or even from an Indian context, you will not have any of these companies. You will need shortcuts. That's the only key to transformation. But to do it the right way is what is important.
Good. So in the interest of time, I've just condensed 3 questions, and we'll have 30-40 seconds to answer. What's the most dangerous shortcut being taken today that you feel won't be visible in the next 3-4 years? Sundar, Mohan, Anil. 3 seconds. Starting with you.
I didn't know the answer, so I gave it to him.
That is a shortcut, not an ethical one. You're not recording this, right?
So, yeah, I think where we give too much of importance to growth, where we don't give importance to the fundamentals that underlie, where we go with the narratives without building the fundamentals.
The foundations are not there.
Yeah, without the foundation, and then we just say, okay, the slides look great, but we don't really go ahead and have any follow-up and something beneath those slides. I think the path to sliding down is very clear. So that to me
wonderful. Mohan.
I think in my view, I think I take it from what Sundar was saying. I think the fundamentals are very, very important, and you should basically have a clear vision that with which you are working and not deviate from it. That basically kind of gets you to where you want to go, and not really kind of, let's say, take shortcuts that are unethical, or let's say take shortcuts which basically are ethical. I think that differentiation.
Good. Anil.
I would like to steer the hornet's nest here.
Don't steer now because it's 6:45. Arun's behind me.
The potentially most dangerous shortcut which I see in the last 2 years, unfortunately, is AI. A lot of companies just want to jump the bandwagon, and a lot of consultants want to sell AI just because they get money in the short run. A lot of companies are overlooking the basic process flow, the process inefficiencies, the availability of data. Somebody said in the first session, AI needs data. Yeah, that is sine qua non, second to none for any data analytics that you need to do. And I know that if there are people that I talk to, they say the manual, the company is very manual. They don't have a lot of data. If the data is available, it is swamps. It is not even lakes. And at that point of time, people are saying, we want to implement AI or somebody wants to suggest AI. That for me is a very dangerous area to step into.
Wonderful.
While we close in a few seconds, I just add to the perspective what Sundar was trying to make. That I think we were detailing about short-termness, not shortcuts, prima facie. So short-termness and then delayed gratification, how they work. So shortcuts is something I think yes, you have put it very clearly. I agree with that. But short-termness, where it is applicable and how it is effective, is what I wanted to look at. To quote the example what he cited in terms of market perception, with a leading financial institution resorting to, which was pulled out by the independent director. So because they had been growing in that fashion for 25 years, they believed that it is to be the set. But life is not like that. You're in that stage of company, the company is matured, it will fluctuate. You need to give into the reality, and rather than walk to some numbers on set expectations. And that I think is short-termness, I think.
I'll take 10 seconds here. I think this is a very important point. We all expect that we'll get into the office every day, we'll do exactly what we did for the last 5 years, 15 years, and then we'll expect magically different results. That doesn't work. That itself is a shortcut, and it doesn't work. So just thought I'll make that.
Okay, so any questions from the audience? Only one? Only one, okay.
Please, to him, right?
Actually, my question is to both the panels, right? So suppose my question is that as Indian industry, how the finance officer community looks at the innovation cost?
At the?
Cost of innovation.
Cost of innovation.
I'm just giving the backgrounds very briefly. Suppose the first panel said that it is about free cash flow. So how I can increase the free cash flow? Either I have to reduce the cost or increase the revenue. Now today morning, Mr. Sridhar Vembu came to our campus and for a keynote speaker, and he gave an idea. This is his thought. And I think it is true because our chief economic advisor also told the same thing a few months back. That because of automation and AI, probably the cost will come down drastically. Particularly the physical commodities, value of car, value of mobile phones, probably it will come down further. Now, if it comes down, then it will happen with almost everybody because everybody is using a similar kind of tool. Then how I can increase the revenue? I can increase the revenue if I add some innovative value to the customer, like Apple did, for example. Now, we did a study in a couple of years back. We studied the pharma industry in India. We took the published report and we found that the cost of research and development, it is abysmally low. And pharma is supposed to be a very innovative industry. So now every investment proposal goes through the CFO, right? So whether there is, my question is whether there is any change in that perception now. And we are looking at it like SpaceX, for example. Basically, it is what? It is a innovative story. We don't know what will be the outcome after 5 years. So how Indian industry looks into this issue?
I can just answer a very minuscule portion of that question. This is with regard to free cash flows. So free cash flows, in my opinion, cannot be increased by increasing the revenue or reducing the cost. The way I will improve the free cash flow is when I look at individual contracts. I understand the basis behind the costing for the contract. I have a very solid project management team which looks at the cost to complete at every stage. A lot of times your free cash flow does not happen because you have not anticipated the cost to complete. You mismanaged the way the costing was done just to get that business. You misreported on the actual cost of completion or the actual revenues or the actual contribution margin. That is where subsequently problem happens. In the initial stages, it looks good. You say you'll get a 28% margin or a 30% contribution margin, but then when the when the delay happens, delay in the project happens, the cost also gets added to it, and that is when it becomes horribly bad. Your typical examples are most of the metro projects that are happening in India, in Karnataka, in Chennai. Also, if a very live example is your expressway between Bangalore, Chennai. You have not anticipated what is the cost it is going to happen. The cost is multiplied by three times, 4 times. I do not know what is going to happen and what time frame it is going to happen to ensure that a positive cash flow comes there.
No. So I'll take the second part of your question first, which was about the pharma industry. I have a little bit of background in pharma. In life, if we incentivize for something, we will get that result. So let's look at the growth of the pharma industry, right? Indira Gandhi was the prime minister at the date, and Indian medicines were not available. Some of us we have enough gray hairs, so we will remember the word compounder in various doctors' dispensaries. So what was a compound? A compound was a group of medicines that was mixed together and given it to us. Why did it happen? It happened because at that point of time, all medicines into India were imported, and we didn't have Indian medicines. Medical care was unaffordable to India and the common man. Because of that background, that Indira Gandhi said, I will not accept any patents to be valid in India. Given that background, we incentivized as a government, as a society, we incentivized for people to copy, okay, to use a very loose term. It was done for social good. At that point of time, it was the right thing to do. Was it against the law? Probably yes, there are ethics, morals, there are 20 ways of looking at everything. So I'm not getting into those aspects. But you incentivize something, you will get it. And for the next 20 years, we allowed no patent to be recognized in India. Post 20 years, our innovative capability became very good. We started taking those same medicines, those same chemicals, those same compounds, and those same molecules, and we started importing it around the world. Correct. And this was the growth of the pharma industry itself. That's when you got the Dr. Hamids, the Dr. Reddy's. All these guys came in at that point of time. Now that happened for another 20 years. Then you come into the next generation. You have the biologics, the biosimilars. Biosimilars are still generics in a loose format, but more complicated. You have the more complex formulations, which the large guys are now doing. Now the next stage, we've just entered it. China took us on probably by about 1 years. Today, among the large molecule players, the new molecule players, it's called the NCE entity. You would know this in the pharma industry. The NCE molecule is something that the largest number of patents is still US. The second largest is China. It's not anybody else. The good news is the Indian industry is picking up very well. A lot of us would have seen Wockhardt come up in the last 1 year with a new chemical entity, a completely new drug. It'll be patented. They'll probably get protected for the next 20 years. So that aspect is coming in. This is about the industry. So you're seeing a metamorphosis of the same industry from building the base, building the foundation, to stabilizing and growth, now becoming an innovator. We're at the start of that curve. It's a tangent. And we're just starting that curve. The hockey stick is just yet to gain momentum. So how does the Indian finance professional come up with that? Historically, our role has been that of controllerships. Look at all our generation, most of us would have been controller at some point in time and we became CFO, etc. That's the normal channel through which we grew. Now, stuff like BRSR being thrown at us, ESG being thrown at the finance guy, DPDP, the Privacy Act and the Data Privacy Act, the finance guy is now responsible for all that. All of us go through that in our day jobs. So if you got to do that, you got to do two things. As a finance professional, and all good finance professionals already are part of this, they already know this and they're living this on their job. They have to remain the custodian of the company, of the assets, the wealth, profitability, etc. But there's now a very interesting activity, which is also coming on, which they've taken on, which finance professionals, the Indian finance professionals have taken with absolute wonderful capability, which is that we are now front and center of the business. You take most of the good companies, the finance guy, the CFO, the ex-CFO sometimes, is now on the board. He's sitting as the CEO very often, and he's now driving the business. So finance at its heart is also the front and center of the business. And that is something that we take on with absolute wonderful capability, because we anyway know the business. If we don't know the business, what are we going to account in the first place? What did we do? We didn't do anything. So if we already knew it, who's the best person there? That's the finance guy.
Thank you, Sundar. I think to answer your question, are there enough innovations, and does that really kind of get funded by the CFOs? I mean, I just want to kind of add my comments to it. I think a lot of organizations are actually kind of investing in innovation. I mean, I come from, let's say, a building material manufacturing, a cement organization. But I mean, let's say the more carbon we emit, more penalty, or let's say more money that we have to kind of spend. So I think most of the organizations are, let's say, in the building material space, are investing in R&D and innovation, because they want, let's say, eco-friendly, let's say, cement, eco-friendly ready-mix, eco-friendly products to kind of come out, which basically kind of will help the organization profit. It also kind of does good for the nature, and you're also kind of able to kind of do good for the nature. Right, I think it is definitely happening. Right, Sundar spoke about pharmaceutical industry. I mean, I basically kind of come from a different industry. I'm able to kind of talk about it. I'm sure if we talk about other manufacturing, I think EV is picking up. Right, I mean that's definitely innovation. Right, I mean it's going to move in the right direction to kind of reduce carbon emission. I mean, save fossil fuels into the penetration of electric vehicles. So I think it's definitely happening, but we need to kind of take a complete stock. Possibly one area, public sector, we are lacking. That's my personal view. There's a lot that can be done in the public sector. I think the private sector is definitely kind of doing well.
Comes with very high risk. I mean, this cost, risk is very high. So how, when industry is looking at the risk, because when I'm talking about say, target ROI and all, I have to minimize the risk. But if some company is investing, like in AI, it is happening now. Companies are a little hesitant in investing because they don't know what will be the outcome after investing. So how the Indian industry is looking into it? Because we know that, say, Western, in US, for example, they take very high risk. If I say Facebook or I say even Google, for example, they are taking very high risk, investing trillions of dollars there with the expectation that they will get the return. And globally, if we see, the entire market is basically controlled by 3-4 large players. Those who are taking risk, some are getting paid, some are getting, but they are taking risk. But from Indian, say, IT industry, if we see that 5 top companies, what is the risk? It is very, very big risk. I mean, I know that there is no answer to this.
I'm just bubbling up when you're talking. I think all those books and the Googles of the world are there because they had access to 2 things. One, they had a very high risk appetite. Second, they had access to risk capital, which unfortunately, both these 2 items, I think there will be only 3 or 4 organizations in India who have done that. I'll refer to others, but 2 or 3 organizations. So that's the challenge. So Mr. Vembu can make that comment because he spent the money on developing a product. He did get external funding. He did around 1,600 crores the first year, if I remember correctly. What he did was he had access to capital. He invested in a product, and that's everything, took care of it. So that is the lesson which you should pass on to all other startups or mid-sized organizations, saying don't run with this capital. It will automatically come to you if you have a very strong offering, product or a service, whatever it will be. That's the secret sauce for Mr. Vembu. And I don't think anybody else has replicated that. Sorry. Yeah, Kiran. Here's the point.
Just to, I mean, you more or less answered your own question at the end.
No, because this is a very
yeah, absolutely.
interesting
Very
debate
interesting.
and,
Very interesting.
Sundar is just waiting.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it very short. It's not that innovation and cash flow are competing with each other. It's never so. Even a company which is innovating, at some point in time, they need to turn cash positive. Even Amazon, if you take, initial few decades, I think, they were continuously burning cash. But they had a set of investors who were willing to take the bet, risk capital.
Exactly.
Okay? And wait for it. How many investors in India are today willing to take that risk? Tomorrow, if any youngster who's drop out of college comes and tells, I want to start Facebook. Let's go back some 15, 20 years back. None of us would have said yes. But that actually comes from the culture of that particular, the culture that we need to build.
Exactly.
Only point I need to say is that it is not competing with each other. It's just that our risk appetite has to go. And as Mukherjee just now said, we need to have an ecosystem which actually funds this risk.
Correct. Yes, cut down. Oh, cut.
So in India, basically, you know, we consider research and development as not something very sexy.
That is simply non-existent.
Yeah. So when you say to somebody that I am doing a research and development, we look very stupid. Huh? This is the fact. This is the fact. Actually, this is the fact. Now that is the reason nobody wants to do our research and development in any field, whatever field, and it is not incentivized. Okay. Since you don't incentivize research and development, it will never happen.
There will be no innovation at all.
Yeah, there is no innovation. Without doing research and development, how do you do innovation? Okay, you need to invest. And who will pay for that? Okay, in USA, if you want to do any research, people pay money to you, and they ask you to do the research, and they give you salary to you. Okay, even if your product fails or something, no problem. Okay, so many companies, so many people, they are doing research with the government money, and then some people get results, some people don't get results. In India, who will do that?
Just 10 seconds for Sundar.
Yeah. I think this is something that we need to look inward about. All the points are valid. The most important is, what was our culture? We've been a scarce economy for the last so many generations. Now that's exactly what factors in. If I come in from a background where I've had no money, my first responsibility is to secure my future. And I will be automatically conservative in my approach. I celebrate success and criticize failure, which is exactly what Indian society has always done. But that generation is done. Our children and their children are going to be celebrating success and accepting failure, not criticize failure. That's something that we're all seeing in our, in the next generation. It's bound to get more and more common. And that's the time when India's time is about to come.
Correct.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Anything else before you wrap up?
I think people want to leave, but I just want to add a few seconds to this question. It's not the culture of risk-taking. We have had risk-takers right from centuries, 400, even before India was born. People were giving money lending to Britishers. People were lending to Burma. People were they were money lenders in Singapore. They are all pioneers from India. There is no need for those skills were there. But the key element which you need to understand is the risk was taken by the reserve currency of the world. They can print and issue anything. Nobody had a question. And the government did it. All the internet and other things and all, risk was taken fully by the government, not by individuals. Once it became success, so many offsprings and all were around that. That risk capital, again at what is the cost of capital? Can we ever dream of, zero? Even when it was zero, we are paying 12%. Where is the capital? We'll reach that stage. So, as you would say, we are more risk takers than anybody. I just don't agree that our country has enough risk takers. The appearance is not so. So, Reliance today doesn't invest only if the cash flow is negative. You can imagine they are risk averse. What is their size? But they do take the risk. But there is a public impression will be negative. They do take risk. They fail. They'll never report the failure. They don't want to smash this image. No, somebody will criticize. Reliance itself failed, so it will never come out. We are equally competent in risk taking. Otherwise, our boats in this thing have sailed 1,000 kilometers, even before they had boats in America. The Israel, they have discovered one boat from Tamil Nadu with artifacts, with everything. It's a fact of life. We have that is in our DNA here. I don't agree that when China can with their communistic this thing, communistic this thing, they are able to do that. We are there. Yeah. I don't.
Okay, so good. So thank you so much for joining the panel, Anil, Mohan, and Sundar. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
last
all.
but not least, I invite my
Yes,
friend
please.
Srini to give a
Very
vote of
important.
thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, Srini.
See, I stay about 50 kilometers from Manhattan in Princeton most part of the year. I travel to Manhattan on any day, and the end of the day, I walk into one of these meetings like there are plenty.
Correct.
And FENG has a motto called power of friendships and power of networking. And I felt that we have started, I think we should grow bigger. And even if we bring in at least 5 persons into the FENG community from our circles and all that, I think we would have made a beginning in that served the purpose of this gathering. Deeply appreciate taking your time and coming here. And thank you so much for your patience and attention.
Thank you so much, Srini.
Thank you, Srini, for everything. We had a fantastic moments, and then we had spent very good quality time on a weekend for so many hours. Somebody told me that, how can we stay in a meeting beyond an hour? 30 minutes is the max. Beyond that, everybody would be want to escape the room. But I think we had fantastic, lively speakers on the panel as well as from the audience.
Very tough questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And then very revealing insights is what I would call for the day. And then thank you, Matt from FENG. Thank you, Charlotte. And thank you, all those, Mike, for this first in-person CFO leadership roundtable from the FENG. We hope to follow through with several more in the months to come. Thank you.
Thank
With
you.
all your support. Thank you.
हम लोग का फोटो एक स्टिल फोटो ले लो हम लोगों का